There you go.
Thank you, boys.
Jonathan.
Good morning. Welcome to the press conference for That Thing You Do, which is showing as this year's closing night gala at the festival. Thank you for turning out in such huge numbers.
That's right.
That Thing You Do marks the directorial debut of one of Hollywood's most impressive actors. It also introduces a cast of superlative and talented, promising young actors. I'll introduce them one by one, starting at the end of the table with Steve Zahn, who plays Lenny, the Wonders' lead guitarist. Next to him, Jonathan Sheck plays Jimmy, the songwriter. The festival is honored and grateful to be able to introduce two-time Academy Award winner Tom Hanks. This is Mr. Hanks' directorial debut. He also wrote the film and stars in it, playing the role of Playtone executive Mr. White. The luminous Liv Tyler portrays Faye, Jimmy's girlfriend, and unofficial member of the band. Next to me, Jonathan Embry plays the Wonders' bass player.
Ethan Embry. Ethan Embry.
Who would like to start? Yes.
Tom, I was wondering if you could talk about writing the script. How easy or difficult was it?
It began as a sort of like a test for me. I was in the middle of the big, long trophy run season of a movie called Forrest Gump that never seemed to dissipate. It started in June, and here, by the time it got to December, it had never gone away. And I was in a lot of hotel rooms and planes and talking about myself in a very unhealthy way, and I needed a artistic and creative outlet that had absolutely nothing to do with some movie that I already made. So in writing the script, I thought, hey, I've read some scripts. I think I know the form. Let's see, fade in. How hard can that be? Exterior, Erie, Pennsylvania streets, day, night, night. How hard can it? Can't be hard. Can't be too hard. But every step of the way became, the question was when is this going to fall apart? When is the story going to disappear, and when am I going to lose my grasp on it? And maybe page 7, maybe page 27. And 6 months later, I had a cohesive enough piece of a collection of pages that I could deliver to friends of mine and ask, what do you think of this? And they said it was sort of a movie, so there you go.
Yes.
Oh, we'll take hands.
Brian Kimmel from the Erie Daily Times.
Hey, how are you? Hey, you're getting a print for, aren't we? Are we getting a print for they get a premiere? They're very good. You get a print, sir. You get a print for a premiere.
Erie people are naturally very excited that you picked Erie as a set. They're going to be even more excited when they see the movie. But why Erie? When were you there, and what made you choose Erie?
Well, I spent some formative years in Cleveland, Ohio, and coming from San Francisco, the Ohio Valley, that region was a very exotic place. Unlike any place I'd ever been before in my life. It was hot and sticky, and I actually, that whole area when I was younger and my first job as an actor was spent there. It's a very evocative place for me. Years later, I was driving from Toronto to Cleveland to see some friends of mine. I was here making a TV movie. And I was bored. I got off the beaten path. I drove through Erie. I stopped at an Oktoberfest that was being held. This was let's see, Bosom Buddies was canceled in '82. It was October of '82. Oktoberfest, therefore October of '82. And I stopped at the Oktoberfest. I had half a stein of beer as I walked around the grounds. I threw some money into some carny booths that took my money away from me. And I kind of just dug Erie, and ever since then it's sort of stayed in my head.
Have you ever been back?
That, unfortunately, was my single visit to Erie, Pennsylvania. I have visited through the magic of postcards and Polaroids since then, but I haven't been back. But my best to the city of Erie. And thank you for letting us destroy that one part of it with our Godzilla part of the movie that was cut, unfortunately, from the final film.
Pearl.
Mr. Hanks, you said you embarked on this project to protect
your sanity, did your sanity in fact survive?
Well, my sanity was completely rearranged as soon as as soon as we opened production offices. I thought I did okay. I thought I held my own. I didn't shoot anybody, although I wanted to a couple of times. It was much more physically demanding than I anticipated. I thought I was familiar with the filmmaking process, having made enough movies, but my view of the filmmaking process was usually from a very comfortable trailer, where people brought me sandwiches anytime I asked for them. To be actually not allowed to go on your trailer, that was something very different. I did have sandwiches delivered to me, but when you eat standing on your feet for too many months in a row, it does begin to eat away at you.
Trailer for a couple of years then?
The trailer's not a bad place to be. And if you have to have a job in this world, a high-priced movie star is a pretty damn good gig. I have to
Mr. Hanks,
as these kids are about to find out for themselves.
Mr. Hanks, you referred to the film as movie making with a human face. I wonder if the actors could comment on that. Movie making with a human face.
Go for it, man. Come on.
Out with it.
I don't know.
Was it a calm and peaceful atmosphere? Were you treated with respect?
It was beautiful. Absolute respect and patience, yes.
All right.
Constant comedy. Sore jaws all the time.
Say something.
I thought, actually, Tom Scott and I came in from New York, and we were staying at the beautiful Oakwood apartments in Marina Del Rey, and so we had a lot of quality talk time. And before we started, we were both very excited and very nervous to work with Tom. And I remember right off the bat, we were introduced to his world and his passion for what we were about to do, and not Tom Hanks, the guy who wins all those awards and is this big icon. And through his passion, talking about the movie and what we're going to do with the movie, we all, I think, individually became passionate about the movie as well. And not just in the movie with Tom Hanks, it became, we're in this movie about this band. Yeah. And for about 5 weeks, we rehearsed as a band. And I think that's one of the greatest things that could have happened to us actors, and learning how to communicate with each other by really doing it, by really being a band for 5 weeks. And 6 weeks. 6? 6. Yeah, maybe 6 for you, man.
You made, I think it was your very first drama in an Israeli film in Jerusalem. I interviewed you on the set. And I wondered, did you have to go all the way to Jerusalem to Hollywood when you had to get away from comedy?
Well, did I have to go all the way to Jerusalem to get away from comedy? No, I had to go all the way to Jerusalem to shoot a movie that was based in Jerusalem. I'm being facetious. I don't mean to be flip. There was an opportunity at that point in my career. This thing came in that was a role that required a degree of all the other stuff that I had done in movies at that point. It was something of a romantic drama. It wasn't a real hard-hitting, heavy kind of thing. But since then, I will admit that my scope of choices as an actor has grown enough. And that was, in all honesty, the movie she's talking about is Every Time We Say Goodbye, directed by Moshe Mizrahi. A sweet, low-budget movie that actually taught me an awful lot about being an actor in films, and is, led to, I think, some other more. I think the nature of my comedies has changed very much since my early part of my career, and also the nature of my dramas have as well. Movies like Philadelphia and Punchline, the P movies of my career, I think have all entered into my box set of videos that can all purchase at your local Blockbuster.
I finally found out that you would do great great drama.
Well, I think acting is acting. And it's very hard to act in a comedy. It's very hard to act in a comedy with a capital C. It's very hard to act in a comedy with a small case C. Likewise with drama, I think film acting is something that you get the hang of, and I would like to think I'm a better actor now than I was when I made Every Time We Say Goodbye, just simply because I've had more experience.
Madame.
I love Joe.
Specifically with technique as a director, can you talk about some specific examples of things you observed as an actor of directors you've worked with that you were able to use for making this film?
Well, there are some directors that can wax eloquent with you about the character and the setting and the circumstances and the beat of the moment, and you can spend an awful lot of time talking about it, and sometimes that's really good. Other times, what you want to hear from an actor is, say it faster, do it better. That was lousy. Try it again. Just do something different. And I think that as a director, I think you have to be able to somehow anticipate the needs of your cast so that you can provide them with the security and the atmosphere that they want, but also give them the freedom that they need in order to give you exactly what you want from them. And that's a bit of a fine line to walk sometimes. But I'm lucky that every director I've worked with is completely different from the one previous to that, except when I worked with people, more than once.
Technically, did you pick up certain things from Penny Marshall versus Jonathan Demme?
Technically, the only thing I honestly got from any director was from Gary Marshall, who directed me in Nothing in Common. And he said, change your shoes at lunchtime. And you will be amazed at what a huge help that is to getting the movie done. All the rest of the stuff you've got to figure out yourself.
Joe.
A few years ago, I talked with Klaus Maria Brandauer after he directed his first movie, and he said, I now feel like I need to write a letter of apology to every director I've ever worked with. And I told Sean Penn this story, and he said, I'll sign that letter too. How do you feel now in regard to your relationships with your director?
Well, I thought I had been a pretty good boy when it came down to acting in films, but then I added up the times that I was late, that I was cranky, that I didn't want to say the words, and that I was completely I couldn't get past the fact that somebody was looking at me. He's looking at me! I can't shoot the scene if he's going to be looking at me. Make him stop looking at me! I've done that a couple of times on the set, and that's long ago. That's bad. I actually spoke with Sean a while back about what we had learned. I had directed a couple of things for like cable television, and the importance of being on time and knowing your words is tantamount, because the clock is running and it's just very expensive, and if you don't get it, you'll never get it. And if you run out of time, that means you'll never get it. But more important is my approach to being an actor in films. And what I will always now do for the director is I will always come in armed with something that I'd like to try. I will come in willing to play, to go to just so I'm not just saying the words trying to figure them out. I will also not bother them. Because I can't tell you how many times I've come up to directors and said something like, hey, you know that scene we're going to shoot in 10 days? Well, I got this great thing that I could do in that scene in 10 days. I'm supposed to come through the door, but I think what I like to do is have a monkey. And what the little monkey's going to do is he'll run around, right? And then I'll be saying, but I actually concentrate on what this monkey is doing in the thing. And that will it'll cut the tension in the scene. And this poor director, whoever it is, Nora Ephron, Penny Marshall, Bob Zemeckis, has glazed over eyes, isn't listening to a word of what I'm saying, and doesn't give a shit what I want to do in another 10 days. And as a director, as an actor, I will no longer do that to directors that I work with. Of course, I say that now.
Bill.
Tom, there's a surprising amount of detail that we get in the characters, and I wonder if you could talk about, in the casting process, if that stuck pretty much to the ideas of what you had envisioned the parts as you wrote them, and then if you would discuss your participation with the writing of the music.
Well, what I was blessed with Steve and Jonathan, Liv and Ethan and Tom, because they were always doing stuff that made it better. They were always coming up with some things that put a better twist on it, that said the words better, or Jonathan had this book that he was always writing in that became a big part of a couple of the scenes that we were doing. Ethan either used a pick or did not use a pick when he was playing his bass. He was always doing something that was going to spark it. And what I wanted from these talented people was, please come in and do something different. Please don't just do what's written down. And they all did. And the vast majority of things that you see that are small little additions all came out of what they were doing. And the music is the second part of your question is the music came about because we just didn't want to have period music from 1964, because I think we're all tired of hearing, Del Shannon sing Runaway. Not that it's not a fine song, it's a lovely song, Del Shannon's Runaway. But music of the period, I think, had been co-opted by Madison Avenue and countless other things. It's just become too familiar. And I've made other movies that had a lot of music from the periods in them, and we just didn't need to hear that. So we had to come up with some stuff, and some of the more thematic and much more minor moments musically from the movie ended up having my name attached to it, because we got together and banged out stuff in a recording studio very early in the process.
Like Mr.
Lynn.
Dan.
Like Mr. Dan.
All the young people who were playing in the 60s, how did it relate to you now? I'm sure you weren't born then, were you? You feel any kinship to what you're living through now as what your age group as opposed to the group you played?
Kinda. Yeah, I was a youngster. I was peeing and pooping my pants and not caring a bit about it in '67, which is after this. But we were barraged with anything that was carved into anything or printed or taped in that 1964 for about a month. So we were like barraged with stuff, which was I don't know as far as parallels to like today, but because then it was so different. It was like, pretty innocent. It was pre-Vietnam. It was we were still singing songs about holding hands,
But there was an excitement in the music, wasn't there? An incredible excitement from the audience, and the musical part of it was very different. Yeah.
Sure. Well, it's like there was a lot jazzier. The music in the '60s was the same with everything else. It was a lot happier and more upbeat, and it was fun. It had a lot of cheer in it. Now you go to a concert and it's a bunch of sweaty guys bumping heads in a big dirt pit. Is it?
Which has its charms. It's a good time.
Jonathan? Do you have anything to say to that?
I'm jet lagged.
Oh yeah, like
Jonathan just flew in from Australia, so he's very, 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 very tired.
Thank you for joining us. God.
Are you Australian? Yeah. I'm doing a film with Stefan Elliott called The Big Red.
Were you a big Priscilla fan?
Yes, very much.
What class is that? Comedy, drama?
Black comedy.
Scott.
Last.
Form is essentially dormant, and you've come back and made a musical for your first film as a director. And
That's what I set out to do. I set out to resurrect a dormant film genre.
you're concerned at all, really, that musicals don't play?
No, not in. I think that the logic of a film musical, as in movies of the '50s, like The Bandwagon or American in Paris, would be hard pressed to land on the audience today, just because we're so familiar with so many different forms of storytelling. But as soon as you define the logic of what your musical is, well, then you're going to be fine. Obviously, people going to Evita are going to be in the mood to see a musical called Evita when Evita comes out. The logic of our musical movie here is that you hear the songs when people either listen to them on the radio or when they're actually playing them up on stage. So that to me means that, well, then there's the logic of our musical piece. Not unlike what Lucas did in American Graffiti. Ron Howard actually told me that when he had his first meetings with George Lucas on American Graffiti, he said it's a musical. And Ron said, well, nobody sings in it. Yeah, but it's a musical. And then you see what the end result is. I think that the audience is always looking for something familiar and brand new at the same time. And if that's what we've done, well, then great. But you know what? I'm very satisfied with my efforts to revive a dormant film genre.
Tom, with your successes in being an actor and now a filmmaker, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? What would you like to do in the industry?
First, I'd like to only weigh 180 pounds, which is getting harder and harder to do. Tough. I've never been one to focus on 5-year plans. The communists did that, and look where they ended up. I hope that I'll be able to still have the access and the freedom to read, material when it comes along, and just really want to do it. I must say that that's all I've been doing for the last few years. I only do something else I really love it, and I think it's great, and I think it's unique and something of a surprise. And if I can still be doing that in 5 years, well, then I'll be very happy.
Is there a special project you'd like to do someday?
Not particularly. I think as soon as you think that there's a special project you'd like to do, cut to a bridge too far. In all honesty, I think what I am fascinated and interested in, just because I love it, doesn't mean it's going to be a commercially viable motion picture. I think you have to be completely open to what is going to come your way, and that way it's only a purely instinctive decision you make as opposed to some sort of rational decision you make. Rationale doesn't work in show business, as we all know.
On that note, I'm afraid we're going to have to stop. Thank you so much
Get
for coming
out.
to talk to us about
I'm
the
sorry.
film.
That was easy, Chris.
Thank you, Jonathan Sheck.
I quit.